My name is Richard. I am 112 years old. I live alone. I cook my own meals. I walk to my garden every single morning without a cane. I have never lived in a nursing home. I have never asked my children to take care of me, and God bless them, they have never had to. I wash my own dishes. I read without glasses. I sleep through the night. And I am going to talk to you today about something that I have wanted to say for a very long time, because I think the world needs to hear it from someone who has actually lived it. Doctors do not understand old age. I know that sounds harsh. I know it sounds like the kind of thing a stubborn old woman says when she does not want to take her medication, but I want you to really hear me out because I am not saying this out of stubbornness. I am saying this because I have watched it for over a century. I have watched people I love hand themselves over to doctors who told them what aging was supposed to look like, and then those people became exactly what they were told they would become. Dependent, fragile, confused, waiting. And here is the truth that nobody in a white coat will ever tell you because they cannot. They have never been old. They have read about it. They have studied it. They have memorized charts and statistics and drug interactions, but not a single doctor sitting across from you has ever been 80 years old. Not one of them has ever been 90, and certainly none of them have been 112. So when they tell you what your body is supposed to do at a certain age, I want you to remember that they are reading from a textbook written by people who also never lived. I have lived it every single year of it. And I am here to tell you that what they call inevitable, I call optional. Now, I am not going to stand here and pretend that getting old is easy. It is not. I have buried my husband. I have buried 2 of my children. I have lost friends whose names I still say out loud sometimes just to keep them alive a little longer. Grief is real. Loss is real. The body changes in ways that surprise you even when you are expecting it. I am not going to minimize any of that. But there is a difference, a very important difference between the natural passage of time and the kind of slow collapse that most people accept as normal aging. That collapse is not inevitable. I am proof of that. And I want to tell you exactly what I have done starting with what I eat, because food is where it all begins. When I was a young woman, my grandmother kept a crock of sauerkraut in the kitchen at all times. It sat on the counter covered with a cloth fermenting quietly. And every single day she would put a generous scoop of it on her plate before she ate anything else. I thought it was just a tradition, a European habit, something old people did because that was what their parents did. I had no idea that what she was doing was feeding her gut an army of living microorganisms that were protecting her body from the inside out. I started eating raw sauerkraut every day when I was in my 40s, partly out of habit and partly because my stomach felt better when I did. What I did not understand at the time was that the fermented cabbage I was eating contained more natural vitamin C than almost any food on the planet. 1 cup of real unpasteurized sauerkraut gives you more than 10 times the daily recommended amount of vitamin C. It is loaded with vitamin K2, which keeps calcium where it belongs, inside your bones and not inside your arteries or your joints, and contains something called glutamine, which actively heals the lining of your gut when there is inflammation. Please, if you take nothing else from what I say today, take this. Buy the raw sauerkraut, not the shelf-stable kind in the can, not the pasteurized jar, the living refrigerated kind that still has its microbes intact. It is one of the most powerful things you can put in your body, and it has been sitting in ordinary kitchens for thousands of years. My grandmother knew something the modern world forgot. The second food I eat every day without fail is arugula. I use it as my salad base instead of regular lettuce, and I drench it in good olive oil, which I will come back to in a moment. Now, arugula might look like a simple leafy green, and a lot of people walk right past it at the moment, but this is one of the highest sources of nitric oxide of any food dark side is what keeps your blood vessels open and flexible. It is what keeps blood pressure from climbing into dangerous territory. It is what allows circulation to reach every corner of your body, including the places you do not usually think about until something goes wrong. When your arteries are stiff and narrow, everything suffers. Your heart works harder, your brain gets less blood, your feet get cold, your energy drops. Arugula, eaten daily, helps keep those vessels open. It is also a cruciferous vegetable, which means it has anti-cancer properties built right into it. And honestly, it tastes wonderful with a handful of sea salt and a pour of the right olive oil. It does not have to feel like medicine, it can feel like lunch. Now, I want to talk about wild-caught salmon because this is the food I credit most for what my mind feels like at 112. I have watched so many of my peers lose their sharpness as they age. They forget names. They lose the thread of a conversation. They stop being curious, and I understand there are many reasons for that, and some of them are beyond anyone's control. But I genuinely believe that a lifetime of eating the right fats has protected my brain in ways I cannot fully explain. 3 hours of wild-caught salmon gives you 2,000 mg of omega-3 fatty acids. That is DHA, which is the structural fat your brain and your eyes are literally built from, and EPA, which is one of the most powerful anti-inflammatory compounds that exists in nature. I eat salmon at least twice a week, always with the skin on, because the skin and the layer just beneath it are where some of the most concentrated nutrients live. And I never worry about mercury in salmon the way some people do, because salmon is naturally high in selenium, which binds to mercury and escorts it out of the body before it can do harm. Speaking of selenium, I want to tell you about Brazil nuts, because this is the food that surprises people most when I mention it. I eat 1 or 2 Brazil nuts every single day, just 1 or 2. That is all you need, and that is important because too many can actually cause problems over time. But 1 or 2 gives you more selenium than any other food on Earth, and selenium is not just about mercury protection. Selenium is central to how your immune system works at its highest level. The T helper cells, the ones that command your entire immune response and tell your body how to fight viruses, bacteria, and cancer, those cells cannot function without adequate selenium. Most people walking around today are quietly selenium deficient, and they have no idea. The soil is depleted, the food is grown fast and cheap, and it does not carry the minerals it used to. So, I take my 2 Brazil nuts every morning like a ritual, and I have for decades. Then there is cod liver, not cod liver oil in a bottle, though that has its place. I am talking about actual canned cod liver, which you can order online or find in specialty markets. Cod liver has more omega-3 fatty acids than salmon, more than almost any food in existence. The texture is creamy and mild, nothing like what people fear when they hear the word liver. It takes some getting used to, but once you understand what it is doing for your nervous system and your brain, you find a way to appreciate it. I also eat grass-fed beef regularly, and I know that raises eyebrows. I know what the headlines say, but I have been eating red meat my whole life from animals that grazed on real grass, and I am 112 years old. Grass-fed beef is one of the most bioavailable sources of iron on the planet. It is packed with B vitamins, zinc, copper, and a compound called carnosine, which functions as an anti-aging antioxidant at the cellular level. It contains natural creatine, which supports muscle function and brain health at the same time. I do not eat the bun. I have not eaten refined bread in a very long time, but I eat the meat, and it has served me extraordinarily well. And then there is extra virgin olive oil, real extra virgin olive oil, not the blended adulterated stuff that fills most grocery store shelves and tastes like nothing. The real thing makes you feel a slight tickle at the back of your throat when you swallow it. That sensation is the polyphenols. Those same polyphenols are 20 times more potent as antioxidants than green tea. They protect your mitochondria, the little energy factories inside every cell. They reduce inflammation throughout the body, and 90% of heart attacks are related to blood clotting, not plaque build-up. And olive oil is one of the most powerful natural anti-clotting substances that exists. I pour it generously. I have never measured it. More is more as far as I am concerned. For those of you who enjoy a little indulgence, I want to tell you about dark chocolate and aged cheese, because both of these belong on the table of someone who wants to live long and feel good. Doing it, I eat a small amount of very dark chocolate, at least 85% cacao, after my first meal of the day. The polyphenols in dark chocolate increase nitric oxide in the blood vessels, just like arugula does. The magnesium content is extraordinary, and magnesium is a mineral that most people are genuinely deficient in. It regulates calcium in the body, relaxes your muscles, lowers cortisol, supports sleep, and powers the energy production in your mitochondria. 1 square of good dark chocolate in the afternoon has been part of my life for as long as I can remember. And aged full-fat cheese, the kind that is fermented and made with real milk, is nothing like the processed slices wrapped in plastic that most people grew up eating. Real cheese is a probiotic food. It is rich in vitamin K2. It feeds the cells of your colon with butyric acid, and because the fermentation process consumes the lactose, it is very low in sugar. I eat cheese without guilt, and I always have. Finally, I make my own yogurt from a specific culture called Lactobacillus reuteri. This particular microbe is missing from most people's guts today. It never gets replaced once it is lost, not through regular diet, not through most commercial probiotics. But when you introduce it back into your system, something remarkable happens. It signals your body through the vagus nerve to produce more oxytocin. And oxytocin is not just the bonding hormone, the one that makes you want to hug people. It is a profound regulator of stress. It lowers cortisol. It makes you feel safe. It makes you want to connect with others. About a week after I started making and eating this yogurt regularly, something in me softened. I felt more at ease in the world. I wanted to sit with people, to call old friends, to reach out. That does not sound like a medical benefit, but I promise you it is one of the most important ones. Now I want to talk about something that no food list will ever cover, because it is not something you can eat or measure or find in a laboratory result. And I believe with everything in me that it is the most important factor in why I am still here, still walking, still thinking clearly, still glad to be alive. Illness begins in the soul before it ever shows up in the body. I know that doctors will not tell you that. I know it sounds like something your grandmother embroidered on a pillow. But I have lived long enough to watch it happen over and over again in people I love deeply, in neighbors, in strangers, in the news. Bitterness ages a person faster than anything I have ever seen. Resentment does something to the spine, to the posture, to the eyes. Dishonesty hollows a person out from the inside in ways that no scan can detect, but that anyone who looks closely enough can see. And isolation, the quiet decision to stop mattering to anyone, is the fastest path to decline I have ever witnessed. If you want to be healthy in your body, you have to be honest. Not just outwardly honest, not just honest because people are watching, genuinely, privately, completely honest with yourself above all, because your body knows when you are carrying something that does not belong to it. It knows when you are ashamed of something you have done and never corrected. It knows when you have told yourself a story about who you are that is not true. And it holds all of that tension somewhere in the shoulders, in the gut, in the chest, in the blood pressure that will not come down no matter how much medication you take. I have not been a perfect person. No one who lives to be my age has been. I have made mistakes that cost me relationships. I have said things I should not have said and stayed quiet when I should have spoken, but I have tried, genuinely tried to face each of those moments honestly and to make them right when I could. And when I could not, I let them go. Not out of selfishness, but because carrying them any longer would only have added more weight to an already heavy world. Faith has kept me upright when everything else wanted to knock me down. I am not going to tell you what to believe. That is your journey and no one else's, but I will tell you that having something larger than yourself to orient toward, something that gives the suffering a frame and the joy a witness, that is not weakness, that is structure. That is the difference between a life that has meaning in the hard moments and one that falls apart when the hard moments come, as they always do. And thinking of others, genuinely thinking of others, is the single most underrated health practice that exists. When I was in my 80s and my children were encouraging me to slow down, to stop volunteering at the church pantry, to stop walking food to the elderly neighbors on my street who were younger than me, I refused. Not because I was stubborn, though I have been called that, but because I understood in my bones that the moment I stopped being useful to someone outside of myself, something in me would begin to die. Usefulness is not a kindness you extend to others. It is a gift you give yourself. When you help someone carry something heavy, you remind yourself that your arms still work. When you sit with someone who is grieving and let them talk until they have nothing left to say, you remind yourself that you still have something to offer the world that no medication could provide. When you show up when you are counted on, when someone's face changes because you walked into the room, that is the most powerful medicine I know of, and it is completely free. I volunteer. I still do it at 112 years old. I make phone calls to people who are lonely. I write letters by hand to people who need to know they have not been forgotten. I give what I have, which is time and presence, and the particular kind of patience that only comes from having watched a lot of life go by. And every time I do, I feel stronger than I did before, not metaphorically, physically stronger. There is something that happens in the body when you act in the service of someone else. Something lifts, something that was clenched loosens, the shoulders come down, the breath deepens, the world gets a little larger. Scientists have names for some of what happens. Oxytocin, dopamine, reduced cortisol, a strengthened immune response. But I knew it before I knew those words because I felt it. I have been feeling it my whole life. So, here is what I want you to take away from everything I have said today. Eat the fermented foods, eat the arugula, and drench it in real olive oil. Eat the wild salmon with the skin on. Eat your Brazil nuts, just 1 or 2 every single morning. Do not be afraid of grass. Vet beef or dark chocolate or real aged cheese. Make the L-Rootery yogurt if you can, or find the closest real thing you can get to it. Feed your body the foods that have been feeding human bodies for thousands of years before everything got processed and packaged and stripped of everything that once made it alive. But do not stop there. Do not make the mistake of thinking that what you put in your mouth is the whole story, because it is not even half of it. Nourish your soul with the same intentionality that you nourish your body. Be honest, even when it costs you something. Live by a faith that gives your hardest days some meaning you can hold on to. Think of other people every day, not just when it is convenient, not just when you have extra, especially when you do not have extra. Especially then, go find someone who needs you and let yourself be needed, because being needed is what keeps you alive in every way that matters. Doctors see what they can measure: blood pressure, cholesterol, bone density, cognitive scores, and I'm not saying those things do not matter, because as they do. But they are downstream of something the chart cannot capture. They are the symptoms of a life, not the life itself. I am 112 years old. I live alone. I am not waiting for anything except tomorrow morning, when I will walk out to my garden and put my hands in the dirt and feel the sun on my face and be grateful, genuinely and completely grateful, for every single day that I did not choose the easier, smaller, quieter version of being alive. You are not too old. You are not too far gone. You have not missed your window. Whatever age you are reading this, whatever condition your body is in right now, the choices that matter most are still in front of you, not behind you. Start tomorrow. Start with the sauerkraut and the arugula and the olive oil. Start with the phone call to the person you have been meaning to reach out to for months. Start with the honest conversation you have been avoiding. Start with the quiet decision to believe, whatever that looks like for you, that your life has meaning beyond what you can see. I am Richard. I have been alive for 112 years and I am just getting started.